What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Broadway Joel, the voice of Dominican boxing, and today we're going to be talking about Tszyu getting upset by Sebastian Fundora last Saturday. Hold on, let me straighten out my camera. All right, there we go. Yeah, so this was something unforeseen. This is something most people did not predict, including myself. But it was never something that was impossible to happen. Uh, Tszyu I never felt was an elite fighter. I never felt like he was just, super great, super duper talented fighter that was unbeatable. I never felt that about Tim Tszyu. I'm sorry. Man, I'm not saying Tim Tszyu wasn't good or he was never good. I'm not saying that. But I never thought Tim Tszyu was this, elite can't miss prospect or contender of any kind. He was very hittable. Uh, all the fights I've seen him in, and although powerful, always seemed very hittable to me. Uh, and he's fighting this guy in Fundora. I'm talking. This is before the fight. Who, in my opinion, well, not in my opinion, who I saw, tall guy, a lot of volume punches, southpaw, and you getting this guy last minute. You've been training and preparing for orthodox and Keith Thurman. Now all of a sudden you fighting a guy 7 inches taller, or 8 inches taller, however much taller he is, in a different stance, and you're preparing for his volume. Now, to be fair, Sebastian Fundora did not fight how he usually fights because he usually doesn't use his height. He usually kind of comes in and throws a lot of volume punches, tries to fight from the inside. But this time he seemed to use his jab and control the distance more at times. But all that came into effect after the cut. And we all know what cut I'm talking about. So it looked like Tim Tszyu was going to pretty much win this fight, probably by knockout, considering how he performed those first 2 rounds. He was landing clean, flush, straight right hands, even broke Sebastian Fundora's nose. And was looking good, man. Was looking good in terms of how flush he was able to land these shots, and how he been able to do that at a more consistent level throughout the rest of the fight. He probably could have won by stoppage, as I just previously mentioned. But in the second round, there was a moment where Tim Tszyu kind of like rushed in, tried to close the distance of the taller fighter, and Fundora kind of put his hands up, and Tim Tszyu just ran his head right into the elbow and got a cut right above the head and was leaking profusely over his eye. Obviously, blood in your eye is gonna be difficult to see. And when that happened, I immediately thought, all right, the cut man got work to do, and that cut is bad enough for maybe the ref, the doctor, or the corner to stop it. And considering it was an accidental foul, depending on what round they ended, it could be a technical decision. It could be a no contest because the cut was bleeding very, very, very badly. And I was like, okay, let's see what happened. But what I saw in the corner was very, very concerning and disappointing, man. This guy was seriously not in good hands in that corner. First of all, the corner should have considered talking about stopping the fight, considering it was caused by an illegal blow. That's the first thing. Second thing is, all right, you got hit in the head by an elbow. You're bleeding profusely. I've seen cuts happen at the top of the head before. Why was the cut man not able to stop that cut? Why was he not able to control it? Uh, it to me in the from again, I'm sitting in my couch. From my couch, from what I saw on my television screen, is that all this guy was doing was putting Vaseline on it and hoping for it to stop. I didn't see him putting any medicine. Usually they have these like big Q-tip looking things that, they'll put 2 or 3 on big cuts. They'll dip it in the medicine, they'll put it there, hold it down, and then maybe right before the round starts, they'll throw some grease on it, so the Vaseline could prevent the medicine from falling out. And usually these cuts take 2 to 3 rounds to then start, where the medicine starts settling in, and it stops being as effective. But it just seemed like nothing they did was effective. And again, from my couch, maybe it was a different scenario there. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I don't know what medicine or what was put on that guy's head, but to me, it looked like they didn't have no medicine to put in that guy's cut. And it cost him the fight. It visibly was bothering him, and it changed the dynamic of the fight. And also, you know, when blood, especially that amount of blood, it either discourages the fighter who is fighting and sees the blood and is like, damn, man, I'm cut. I need to hurry up. I need to do this. Obviously, it's affecting his vision, and that's not an excuse. That's just legit. If blood's getting in your eyes, you're gonna have difficulty to see it. And it also could encourage the other fighter. The other fighter go, yo, look at this guy. I got this guy bleeding. This guy is discouraged. He's wiping his eye. He's distracted. He has other things to worry about than me being here trying to fight. So I thought his corner did a terrible job, and a consideration for a different cut man should definitely be in the books for for his next fight, for the rest of his career, to be honest with you. But Tszyu, where does he go from here? I don't know. I don't know where he goes from here. I don't know where he goes from here because there was an alleged verbal agreement between Samson Lukowicz and Tszyu's team about a rematch. But then we kind of saw, Samson talking about, oh, well, Spence, we'll fight Spence, and it doesn't matter if the WBO orders Terence Crawford. We'll vacate the title because Errol Spence put 90,000 in a stadium in Texas, and we can't do that with Terence Crawford, which I don't believe, by the way. I don't think that Errol Spence is he's never put 90,000 in that stadium. He's fought there multiple times, and Fundora is not big enough a draw to make up for what the other guys he fought there with, weren't bringing to the table. So I don't see that. I don't see that. And I'm not so sure that's the bigger money fight. Now, if you want to say, it's the bigger money fight because you don't have to deal with another company or a person who's not in-house, those details, I don't have those details. Maybe in that sense, it's a more bigger money fight. Maybe the splits and the guarantees could be made in a way that's favorable for Fundora because it's an in-house selling fight. But I'm not so sure that's a much bigger fight. The guy just recently got destroyed by the guy you turning down, by your mandatory. Like that was a pretty bad ass whooping. So I don't understand how his value is still higher than Terence Crawford after a performance like that in one of the biggest fights that happened last year. You know what I'm saying? I don't see that. I don't see that. But maybe there's details to the deal that I don't know, that I'm not privy to. Maybe again, hey, these people, with Errol Spence people, we can negotiate this, we could do that, we could do this. I don't know. But Fundora, aside from Spence, he has two mandatories. He has Terence Crawford, and he has the winner of Mendoza Boachak, which Boachak won. And we'll get to that fight. We'll talk about that fight in a little bit, but I want to talk about the main event right now. The WBC is, again, and with these mandatories with the WBC, we'll see, because you never know with them. With those people, you never know. But if according to the rules, Fundora has two mandatories. He has Boachak and he has Crawford. The immediate, I almost felt like the next day or 2 days after, the WBO sent out letters to both Terence Crawford and Fundora's team to negotiate a deal, if not saying that he will be stripped. So it's interesting. It's interesting as to what happens after that. I don't know if he goes the rematch route. What happens if he goes the rematch route? Does he get stripped of both titles? What if he goes the Terence Crawford route? Does he get stripped of the WBC? What if he goes the Spence route? Does he get stripped of both? What if he goes the Boachak route? Does he get stripped of the WBO? There's a lot of variables, but we know boxing, there's always a way, a workaround, and these were the rules. But these are a little bit of a special rules because he's a special fighter, he's a franchise and this and that. And we don't know. I'm interested as to seeing what happens next. My prediction is I don't think Crawford is gonna get the fight. I think it's between Spence and a Tszyu rematch. And I don't know. I was gonna say I'm leaning Tszyu, but I don't know, because if he fights Tszyu, does he get stripped of both titles? I don't know. I don't know. Well, one thing I will say about Spence, he looked big. He looked like and an unhealthy big. He didn't look like, oh, like you could tell he's been lifting, or he looked strong. Kind of looked very heavy set. He was wearing, kind of like a hoodie or something like that. So maybe that made him look big. But even his face, like he looked heavy set. Terence Crawford even made a comment on Twitter. He said something like, "Damn, Errol Spence, you look like a linebacker." And he did, man. He looked very heavy. And I understand he's moving up to 54, but it kind of looked like he was moving up to cruiserweight the way he looked. He looked like a very, very big dude at that time. But yeah, on the co-main event, we had Pitbull Cruz versus Rolando Romero. I predicted that Pitbull Cruz would win by knockout, and that's exactly what happened. This was not a competitive fight, as I also mentioned it was not going to be. This was this goes to show that Rolly should have never been champion. Rolly should have never been in that position. This guy moves. This guy is one of the smallest, if not the smallest lightweight. Moves up to 140. And in his first fight at 140, knocks you out in a non-competitive fight. This goes to show you that Rolly Romero was never, ever a world-class fighter. He was never that good. He should have lost to Marinez. He should have lost to Barroso. He lost to Gervonta Davis, and now he lost to Pitbull Cruz. This guy, I don't understand how he keeps getting opportunities, but he is not a world-class fighter. Honestly, he shouldn't be fighting on TV. He should just, and if he is fighting on TV, he should be just as a journeyman. The guy is not that good. I'm so sorry. That's no disrespect to Rolly. He's just not a talented guy. To this, I don't want to say not talented. He's just not world-class. He's not a world-class fighter. And I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to be disrespectful. But at the end of the day, when you see somebody getting constant opportunities and you see such, little ability in him, it's a bit frustrating when you got a guy like Elvis Rodriguez, who is absolutely not being prioritized, over there at PBC. And he doesn't have a fight. He doesn't have a title shot in line. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have a fight with Gary Antoine Russell. He doesn't have a fight, period. He doesn't have an eliminator, nothing. So it's a bit frustrating when you see stuff like that. And but hey, man, I guess that's the sport of boxing. They'll tell me, and I don't want to say they, because I don't make it seem like somebody will tell me. The fans will tell me, oh, but Elvis is not a draw. That's why he's not getting the opportunities. When Rolly is not a draw. You know what I'm saying? Like, Rolly was fighting in the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas in his last fight as a main event against Barroso. And that thing didn't sell out. And that's in his hometown in a very, very small arena. And I've been there personally, so I know that's a small arena. And online it says, I think the capacity is like 2,500, 3,000 or something like that. It doesn't hold that much. At least not when they do the boxing. It doesn't hold that much. So the fact that he couldn't sell that out, or at least sell a good amount of tickets where it's noticeable on TV, shows you that he's not a draw. Again, I don't understand why he keeps getting these opportunities. But moving on to Pitbull. So Pitbull now, he is the WBA champion, and the WBA is in a complicated situation because it's backed up in mandatories, and it's the WBA. The WBA usually tends to be very flexible with their rules. So if we're going by the rules, the Pitbull should either fight Kenneth Sims or Ismael Barroso. Ismael Barroso is the WBA interim champion, and Kenneth Sims is he just recently won a final WBA eliminator against Batir Akhmadov. So one of those two guys should be in line to fight him. Now, Kenneth, to me, I'm actually gonna predict that Pitbull Cruz is gonna fight Ismael Barroso most likely in September. I want to say on Canelo's undercard. That's my prediction. But there is a possibility he could fight Kenneth Sims, because we'll see. They can justify one of those two by saying it's a mandatory. And then we got to throw that wild card out of a Pitbull versus Tank rematch. Tank is the champion at the WBA in 135. I can easily see the WBA saying, well, we have a champion moving up, and he was already the WBA regular champion at 140 before. So the fact that he told us he announced he's moving up, plus his past history as being the regular champion, we're going to make him the mandatory over those two guys. I could see that happening. I don't think so, because I think they understand that the appetite for that fight isn't quite there yet. At least not yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I wouldn't want to see a rematch in the future. I just don't think beating Rolly, Gamboa, and Vargas in your last few fights, and what's his name, Cabrera, I don't think that doesn't excite me to put you to fight Tank again. You know what I'm saying? Have him fight a meaningful fight and win, then maybe it'll pique my interest. I'm not going to dismiss that fight as a non-competitive, unimportant fight. I'll just say that that's a fight that doesn't interest me right now. It's not a fight that interests me right now. But yeah, those are the three fights I think happen for him. Now, also on the card, we had Erislandy Lara versus Michael Zarafa. Lara won by knockout, and that's a pretty big statement, considering a lot of people claim he lost his legs. A lot of people don't know what to make of Lara. We know he was a talented fighter in his prime. He's obviously not in his prime. I believe he's in his 40s, if I'm not mistaken. And he was I believe he was a WBA regular champion, then got elevated, and now he had to fight this mandatory, and this fight got delayed a bunch of times, and he was supposed to fight Danny Garcia. And it's kind of like we forgot about Erislandy Lara, and he came back, and to his credit, won by stoppage. Okay, so now he's officially the WBA middleweight champion of the world, won his mandatory, and now is in position in a very weak division. Now, I know everybody immediately thought to, maybe that's a potential opponent for Carlos Adames. Carlos Adames has the WB interim championship, which could become the WBC. He has a WBC interim championship, which could become the full WBC championship at any moment. It's looking like he's going to fight in England against Nathan Heaney, for last I've heard. But a lot of people were saying that this is a possible unification down the line. They're both on the PBC side. They're both Latino, and and they're both in the middleweight division. They both have belts. I don't think that fight will ever happen, because they both do business dealings with Luis de Cubas. And when I brought that fight up to Carlos Adames, that's what he's told me. He's like, I don't think that fight will happen. And I'm like, why not? And I'm not just saying this wasn't a recent conversation. This conversation was, maybe even a year ago. And he would tell me, like, no, we both work with Luis de Cubas, Luis de Cubas Jr., that is. And since they both work with Luis de Cubas Jr., that's a fight that's unlikely to happen. I think that's unfortunate if that is true. And who knows, things can change from here to tomorrow. But as far as that fight, which is a fight that's been brought up to me over the past few days after that fight, I don't see that happening. But I would like that fight. If that fight could happen, if, let's say Adames beats Nathan Heaney and he's elevated to the full WBC championship, if that's the next fight, okay, that's good. That's interesting. Lara is a good fighter, whose legs have slowed down. I'm not going to say he's lost his legs, so he can't necessarily run around and stink out a fight. We know Carlos Adames to be an exciting fighter, and it would be for 2 belts. You know, the guy across the street in Janibek, he has 2 belts. You fuck around, unify these 2. Now you're just 1 fight away from being undisputed. So I'm not going to totally dismiss the fight. I'm just going to go by what I was told, that in the past, that, you know, that's a fight that they're not interested in because they both do business dealings with Louis DeCoupas Jr. I also want to talk about this other undercard fight, Brian Mendoza versus Boachak. Now, y'all know me and Brian Mendoza, we have a good relationship. He's been on the show. Has he been twice? I don't remember. I know he's been on the show for sure. Maybe once, definitely once, maybe twice. And you know, there's a good relationship there. I'll say that. But man, I felt so bad for him because he was fighting this Boachak guy, man. And this was the first time I see Boachak fight, and he was strong, man. Came with that high guard, power jabs, right hands, and controlled the distance, and at times forced Brian Mendoza to the ropes. And Brian Mendoza had no choice but to fight off the ropes, which was very interesting and almost a bit frustrating because I felt like anytime he was in the middle of the ring, he would have success. Definitely that loopy left hook was landing, not consistently, but it was landing, you know, at a decent rate where maybe he can get this guy hurt. But no, this guy was too strong, too powerful, and too defensively sound. And almost felt like too big, too. He looked big. He was kind of pushing him back, making sure he was on the ropes and was doing a number on him. So, man, this was a big win for Boachak. He is now the WBC interim champion, which makes him the mandatory for Sebastian Fundora. And we'll see what happens there, because we know the WBC interim championship, we know from the Carlos Adames situation, that does not guarantee you a shot at the champion, unfortunately. So we'll see. I don't think that he gets the fight next. I think that's a safe guess, a safe assumption that Fundora versus Boachak is not the next fight. Samson Lukowicz after the fight seemed very, very clear that he wants to make fights with money. You know what I'm saying? He wants to make that fight. You know, oh, I want to make that Spence fight, and he has Crawford on the table, which, you know, is his mandatory. So if you got to choose between 2 mandatories, you choose the Crawford one. If let's just say the Tim Tszyu and the Spence fight are off the table, and you got those 2 fights, yeah, you're not gonna beat Crawford, but you're gonna make a shitload more money fighting Crawford than you will Boachak. So I don't think he's gonna fight him next, but I do think he's a player at 154, and with the style he has, it's a very, very entertaining style. I think this guy can be a player. I think this guy can be around for a while. I would like to see him fight Charlo, Jermell Charlo, that is, if he comes back to 154. You know, that would be an interesting fight. I would like to see him fight. I'm trying to think of some other names at 54. Charles Conwell. That would be an amazing fight. Matter of fact, that's a fight I'm hoping is next. I doubt that it'll be next, but that's a fight I'm hoping is next. There's a few fights at 54, and who knows? Maybe Virgil Ortiz down the line. There's some fights for him down the line, but I really, really like his style, and it's good to see guys like that get an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? This is somebody who doesn't get a lot of attention. Again, this was the first time I ever seen him fight. Maybe I'm not that much of a hardcore anymore. I don't know. Maybe you guys have seen him, but that was my first time seeing him, and man, he left an impression on me. He couldn't stop Brian Mendoza, but Brian Mendoza has never been down, never been stopped. This is a guy who fought you know, some really good fighters. And he fought Ramos. He fought you know, Jason Rosario and you know, Fundora, and he's never been dropped or stopped. So he couldn't get the stoppage. He couldn't drop him, but that's no shame, because none of the fighters who ever beat him before were ever able to do that. He did swell up his jaw real bad. Like in that last round, I thought Mendoza's jaw was broken because it almost looked like his jaw expanded past his ear, like how bad his jaw was swollen. And I'm hoping Mendoza's okay. I haven't reached out to him. I like to give guys a week or two of recovery, before I reach out to them. But I definitely want to reach out to him and just tell him like, hey man, hope all is well, and keep grinding. And he definitely didn't embarrass himself. And one of the things you can take away from that fight is that he was a tough man, bruh. This dude is as tough as it come. Solid chin, comes to fight, and it's never gonna embarrass the promoter by putting him on the card. So shout out to my man Brian Mendoza for putting up a good performance. Unfortunately, I do think this fight really sets him back in his career. I find it hard for me to see him ever getting a title shot now. This is back-to-back losses. And it is unfortunate. And it also was a last-minute opponent replacement. Remember, Boachak was supposed to fight Fundora, which also makes me wonder like how that fight would have turned out if that fight would have happened, considering Fundora was kind of using his height in that Tszyu fight. Would he have used his height against Boachak the same way? Because Boachak, although obviously a different style, more of a high guard pressure fighter, and he's a little bit different than Tszyu, but also a little bit the same. It would have been interesting to see how that fight would have played out. But yeah, it was a last minute opponent switch, and but it's unfortunate. It's 2 losses in a row. One for a world title, this one for interim title. I find it hard for him to get another opportunity. I do like that fight. I do think, yeah, Brian Mendoza versus I believe his name is Yoenis Tellez, the Cuban guy. Yeah, I like to see that fight. That's a good fight because Mendoza's definitely gonna push him, definitely gonna make him work. But I don't know, after 2 losses back to back, he fights a fight like that. Or maybe he's not in a position to take, little bullshit fights. Maybe he's not in that position currently, and he has to, hey, give me your top prospect. And or in Tellez, I don't know, but that's an interesting fight. I'm really high on Yoenis Tellez. I think that guy has a lot of potential, But one of the quick takeaways I had from the whole card, from the event, and we had Kermel Moulton. He fought on the card as well, off pay-per-view, where he definitely entertained. He was definitely entertaining fighting. Top to bottom, this card was very entertaining, and this card was also very good for PBC. We know the executives at Amazon probably aren't the hardest of hardcore fans. I think that's pretty fair to say. So if they watch this card, they can easily say like, okay, I don't know what kind of business dealings we doing with these guys, but that was entertaining. That was something I would want to see again. And hey, they're in business with them, so that's a good way to start off. And shout out to PBC for doing a great event. I don't like that it was on pay-per-view. I still don't like it. Yes, it was entertaining, but to some degree, I feel like the boxing fans were being priced out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys, they want to support, but it's like, man, the Zone, ESPN Plus, and now there's a pay-per-view pretty much every month, and it's like, all right, you know what? I'm just not going to watch this pay-per-view, especially when it's not like a can't miss must-see fight. You know what I'm saying? It was a fight, even when it was Keith Thurman, it was a fight like, yeah, I want to watch, but we used to get those fights for free on Showtime and HBO all the time. And now you're trying to make me pay for it? It's kind of like, But that's neither here nor there. This fight was a success because you can easily explain to an Amazon executive, hey, you saw that? That was quality that we just gave you, right? There's no way you can watch that card top to bottom and say you weren't entertained if you're a boxing fan, there's no way you can say you weren't entertained. All right, so you can say, hey, listen, Yeah, the numbers weren't what they were, which I have no word on the numbers, but I'm gonna assume that it didn't sell 900,000. I think that's fair to assume. You know what I'm saying? But you can go to Amazon. Hey, listen, we're in transition. This is the first time on Amazon. Give us some time. We'll make it work. Blah 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 blah. And you can explain to them, this is the kind of quality we're gonna be bringing to your network. You get what I'm saying? All right, watch the next one. Don't worry about it. And our pay-per-view sales are gonna go up. And once people get used to uh, 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 us being on Amazon, that you'll see the numbers rise, and it'll work to their favor. Their next event, if I'm not mistaken, is Canelo versus Munguia. Now, Canelo's gonna sell pay-per-views no matter who he fights. But again, these Amazon executives may not be the hardest of hardcores. They may be like, all right, that last card was very entertaining. It was their first fight on Amazon. You know, let's see what they do. And then their next fight does crazy numbers in Canelo. And then they go, whoa, all right. They did say their next fight was going to be a lot better. And look, it was a lot better. And then the next pay-per-view after that is Tank versus Frank Martin with a really good undercard. You know, it's allegedly, you know, going to have David Benavidez versus what's his name? Vosdick. And you're gonna have Rayo versus De Los Santos, which the first fight was very, very entertaining for the 3 rounds that it lasted. So they might be like, all right, so the first one wasn't good. What wasn't the numbers wasn't good, but the fights were good. Second one, the numbers were good. I'm pretty sure the fights are gonna be good. And the third one, same thing. So I can see this snowballing where Amazon, you know, got a taste of what can come to their network last Saturday, and we're excited. And now that they have big fights coming up with Canelo and Tank, and who, you know, they haven't announced anything else, but I'm assuming, you know, as the weeks and months go on, we'll start getting more announcements. Yeah, let's see where this develops. I'm very happy for PBC that this turned out the way it did. It's refreshing when it works out to their favor, because this is a card that a lot of people complained about, including yours truly. I was complaining about, well, the Rolly versus Pitbull. I just don't like that Rolly keeps getting opportunities and stuff like that, and I don't think he deserved that belt, considering the way he got that belt was very, very suspicious, you know. So I didn't like that fight, and that fight ended up being one-sided as I predicted. But the main event was very, very exciting, very, very competitive, and it was a good decision. A lot of people were scared as to, you know, what the scorecards were going to be, including myself. I'm like, damn, this is a fight where usually, you know, the A side gets the decision. You know, even though it was a close fight, the judges will be like, no, you know, he controlled the action and this and that, and he gets the decision. But no, boxing as a sport held its own and looked like it was a good decision. You know, the Boachak Mendoza fight was a very, very entertaining fight. Boom, that fight happened. You know, Kermore Moulton fight. You know, a prospect that, you know, you can sell to Amazon and go, yo, this is who we got coming up. Look at this fight. Look how entertaining he was. Look how the internet reacted to him, because the internet was buzzing after the Moulton fight. Be honest. You know, if you was on Twitter, you saw people commenting saying, I saw one person say, from now on, Kermel Moulton's fights should all be on television. And if Amazon could get behind this kid and be the poster child for Amazon, sky's the limit. The guy has the talent. The guy, you know, is on PBC, which PBC, when you're a priority on PBC, they get you to the mountaintop for sure. And it's looking like he's going to be a priority. Now, you're going to make him a PBC priority. And if Amazon makes him a priority with all the resources they have, sky's the limit for that kid. Sky is the limit. So let's see what Amazon decides to do with him. And hopefully they were impressed with this last event and see the future in boxing, because honestly, boxing sounds messed up, but I don't think it's in a good place right now, man. I don't think it's in a good place. The Zone is strong in boxing, heavily invested in boxing. Shout out to the Zone. But you know, unless you're a boxing fan, you really don't have that app. Like, you know, I have the app, you know, but I'm a hardcore boxing fan. But that friend at your house, you know, not your house, yeah, that friend at work or that friend at the bar, at the barbershop that you know that kind of likes boxing, you know, they don't have the Zone. And they kind of like boxing, but they're not paying whatever $25 a month, whatever it is, to watch UK boxing. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. So I do like the Zone. Me as a hardcore boxing fan, I like the Zone, but I don't know how they can get the casual boxing fan to go and subscribe. Now, ESPN, their contract with Top Rank ends in, I believe, August of next year, August of 2025. So are they going to renew? I don't know. I really don't. I really don't. So, and the reason I say I don't is because you got to look at it. Top Rank really hasn't done big money-making events. They haven't been breaking, you know, crazy records on you know, when they do their free live shows on ESPN. No pay-per-view, no huge pay-per-views. You know what I'm saying? They haven't had like, I mean, I guess the only big pay-per-view they had was Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder but that was a split network. It was Fox and ESPN. So they haven't had a so big, you know, pay-per-view card. Yes, you know, Loma versus Devin Haney was a pay-per-view, but I don't think the numbers for that was that big. You know, they haven't had, you know, a 800,000, 900,000 sold ESPN pay-per-view. So ESPN may be looking at it from a business perspective. All right, you guys are not bringing in, you know, 2-3 million views to our channel. You guys are doing consistently probably anywhere 500 to 800, you know, which unless you're hitting 1 million for boxing, you're not really making noise, which is unfortunate, but it's the truth. All right. And you're not producing pay-per-views. I'm not sure they renew that contract. So where does the Top Rank fighters go from there? I don't know. But if Amazon could get fully invested in boxing, you know, and they can, and PBC could have Amazon as something like how they had at Showtime, where some events will be free and some events will be pay-per-view. I think we struck gold because if I'm not mistaken, over 150 million people have Amazon Prime. 150 million people, that's basically half the country. And if you can somehow find creative ways to promote, creative ways to get the casual boxing fan and even the hardcore boxing fan to engage and invest emotionally in a fighter through whatever your platforms and through your networks, man, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. So I'm very happy that it was a good overall performance from the event. The event, honestly, if you're grading it, you know, you got to give it A minus, A plus, maybe A minus. I'll say A minus only because, and again, A minus is a great score, a great grade. Like if my son came up to me with his report card, it all had A minuses, I wouldn't complain at all. I'll just be like, oh wow, that's great. You know what I'm saying? The only reason I say A minus, I didn't like the Pitbull versus Rolly fight. I thought that was a very uncompetitive fight. But considering how great everything else was, I can't bring it down to a B. I can't. Everything else was super great, entertaining. You know, you had upsets in the main event. You had good prospects put out entertaining a performance in the on the off TV free undercard. You had you know, a Warrior and Carlos Mendoza. You hear me? I'm talking baseball now. Brian Mendoza. You know, it show heart. You know, in a really entertaining fight. It was one-sided, but entertaining nonetheless. So you had a little bit of everything. So yeah, A minus, and I think that's a great start for PBC. I'm just being totally honest, and hopefully they can get the ball rolling. They can get the ball rolling. They only have, I guess, 2 more fights on the schedule. I would like to see them announce, let's say 3 more, so we can have 5 fights on the schedule ready on deck. But yeah, no, this is a good so far a good start for PBC. They should be proud of the event they pulled off. But guys, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Matter of fact, hold on. Before I do that, let me hit my guy, man. Let me hit my guy. Anyways, but yeah, man. What are you guys' thoughts? Type in the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought. What you guys thought of the event, and let me know. Let me know. I'll put you up. I'll put your comments on the screen, and we could discuss that. Xavier Gonzalez says boxing business. Pitbull never fought at 140 and is a champion now. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about boxing. It's not what you do is necessary. It's more so who you know, and he's on the right side of the street. He's from the right country, and he's signed to the right manager. It's unfortunate that he gets skipped over. He gets to skip the line and just all right. Sorry, Barroso. Sorry, Kenneth Sims. I know you guys are mandatories, but I'm gonna skip the line and get this easy belt. You guys had the hard road, and you know where Elvis, where you know Kenneth Sims had to fight Elvis Rodriguez and Batir Akhmadov to get that #1 spot. Yeah. You got to move back. Yeah, Barroso. Yeah, you really did beat and possibly could have stopped Rolly had that fight not been unjustifiably stopped. Yeah, but you move back. I'm getting that title shot. It's unfortunate. That's one thing that I don't like about boxing. And the same thing is kind of happening in the main event. And we'll see who Fundora fights. I don't want to like how do I say, you know, say too much because I don't know what's going to happen. But you know, it's like Terence Crawford goes, I'm moving up to 54. I'm gonna invoke my mandatory status with the WBO to get the shot at the title. And it's like, you know, Samson comes out and says, no, well, you know, I'm gonna you know, Spence is a bigger payday. He can sell 90,000. We're not gonna fight Crawford. You know, the same way Benavidez has to wait for his Canelo fight, Crawford has to wait for his Fundora fight. And it's like, what? And then he says, you got to understand, boxing is a business. Boxing is a business. I'm like, wow, like really, that's how we feel. That's how we feel about the sport. And that's the one ugly thing, you know. Spence got destroyed by Terence Crawford. And he possibly gets to skip Terence Crawford, the #1 pound for pound by a lot of people. Come on. And honestly, I don't think that Spence is that much more popular than Terence Crawford. Maybe he could sell more tickets, but I'm not sure if the fight was a pay-per-view. If the fight was a pay-per-view, I'm not sure that they won't sell more pay-per-views with Terence Crawford, the winner. Like, hold on, let me see something. Let me see who got more followers on Twitter, on excuse me, on Instagram. All right. Bud got 1.6 million followers on Instagram. Let's see how much Errol Spence got. I really don't know. Yeah, and he has and Spence got 1.1 million. So if we going by the numbers of social media, Terence Crawford got more, and he beat you, destroyed you, and stopped you. You know what I'm saying? Was undisputed in 2 weight classes. It's a shame. It really is. Luis Rodriguez says, Joel, what happened to Hector Luis? He forgot about boxing with the tank money. I mean, he fought. When was it? Was it in he fought like I think it was October or September, and he lost to Lamont Roach. He lost his belt, so he has 2 losses in a row. I don't know. I don't know what's up with him. I haven't spoken with him in a while, but he lost 2 fights in a row. And in boxing, 1 fight is bad enough. When you lose 2 fights, and especially that second fight where I was really disappointed in how he fought. He fought a fight that was very confusing. He fought like if Lamont Roach was a puncher and was very cautious and very just not active enough for my liking. I was very disappointed in how he fought. So as far as what happened to him, I don't know. I don't know, but he seems comfortable. I see him on Instagram. He seems comfortable. Shout out to my man Jay Cruz. $2 super chat says the voice of Dominican boxing. Thank you, my man, for sure. Definitely. J Kid says I wouldn't pay a penny for Fundora Spence, but I would travel for Crawford Fundora. Yeah. I mean that you're definitely entitled to do what you want with your money. That's for sure. Don't ever let nobody try to make you feel bad for how you want to spend your money. I mean, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't pay for Fundora Spence. I probably would pay for that pay-per-view, especially if the undercard is decent or good, which lately PBC has been putting on some decent undercards, especially considering they don't have much dates. They kind of have to, just stack these undercards. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not going to say I'm not going to buy it, but I do agree that Crawford versus Fundora needs to be the next fight if he's going the mandatory route. Unless the only way I can understand him not giving Crawford a fight is if he gives Tszyu a rematch, just off the strength of respect. Like, yo, I beat you. You were the ace. You were the champion. I'm gonna give you a rematch. I could respect that. I'm not going to knock it. But you fighting Spence because he's a bigger payday? I'm not so sure, man. The numbers don't say that. My man got 500,000 more Instagram followers than you, bro. And Instagram followers is not everything, but when you couple that, when you add the fact that he destroyed you in your last fight and stopped you, come on, man. You got to give it to him. You got to give it to Crawford if you're going one of those routes. Jay Cruz says, if you want objective journalism, you're in the right place. Broadway Joel, you're a gem to our boxing community. Thank you, my brother. That means a lot to me. And thank you so much for the $5 super chat. That makes me feel really good and it lets me know that you support the channel and you definitely want me to continue to grow. Xavier Gonzalez sends $2, but I can't see your comment. So if you want to write your comment, I'll put it up. But shout out to you for the $2 super chat. Truly appreciate it, man. Truly appreciate it. The Nobody 92 says, can you consider an interview with Starling El Poli Castillo next? I think he deserves it. Yeah. You know what? I gotta reach out to him. You know what it is? I've been working on a lot behind the scenes. In terms of trying to get big interviews. And, some have been falling through. Some you kind of have to negotiate. And I kind of been focused on that as well as my personal life. As you guys know, I've mentioned it a million times. I got a new job. So the new job kind of like is taking up a lot of my time. That's why I haven't been able to stay consistent with going live or go live as often because of my new job. So, but no, I got to add him to the list of fighters I want to get on. And I'm sure he's somebody that'll be easy to get on. These other people are kind of like bigger people or people who usually are behind the scenes, and I'm like, no, I need you in front of the camera. I'm trying to, show get like these scoops, these interviews nobody got. You get what I'm saying? So there's a lot that I'm trying to do, like that. But we'll see. I'm gonna hit him up, and he should be an easy person to put on. Yeah, I mean, Elvis manager needs to do something. Elvis can't fight once or two times a year. Yeah, man, it's a shame what's happening to Elvis Rodriguez, man. And I don't want to put. I don't think Elvis manager is to blame. I just think that right now Elvis is not a priority, and that's pretty clear as far as the way he's been. I don't want to say treated. That's probably a bad way of putting it, but the way he's been Where he's been placed, you know what I'm saying? I'll say that it's pretty clear that he's not a priority. I thought he was going to be a priority when he first went to PBC, because in his first fight on PBC, he was on that Canelo undercard. I believe it was Canelo versus Plant for undisputed. So like, hey man, that's a pretty big thing. I was like, okay, his first fight, they got him on that undercard against another undefeated fighter. Well, Elvis wasn't undefeated. The guy he fought was undefeated, was a Mexican Olympian. Abner Mares was on the announcing team, and he was saying, hey man, that was a guy I was trying to sign to manage. That guy is very talented. And the guy didn't come to lay down. The guy came to fight. And then, boom, out of nowhere after that, they were putting him in a fight in Minnesota. They were putting him to fight an old Victor Postol. And it's like, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Juan de lo mío. ¿Qué lo que, mi hermano?
Man, I'm happy to be here right here with my brother Joel. How's everything going, brother?
Everything is going good, my brother. How's everything? Talk to
me. Good. The weather's crazy out here on the East Coast right now, man. A lot of rain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right by a window, and all I hear is I don't know if y'all heard it on the mic, but it's definitely raining out here. But talk to me. What you think of the fights this past Saturday?
I'll be lying to you if I didn't enjoy the people. The people trash. It was like vindication for me, Joel. It was vindication.
How so? How so was it vindication?
In this sense, there's 3 fighters: Mariñez, Barroso,
Tank.
2 fighters that all should have been in that position, hypothetically, if they would have got the title. And to see that these fighters have to take a back burner, the real talents of boxing, the people that are sacrificing just as much, that are as talented as much, take the back burner to somebody that was made by a promotional company. This is what we were sold on a main event. Don't tell me Barroso wouldn't have been just as exciting if he was put on that platform.
Yeah, and maybe more competitive.
If you can make Rolly a star, you can make anybody a star.
No, but Rolly's not a star.
That's what I'm saying.
He's not a star.
I'm confused, Joel. I'm really confused, because I would want to think that all right, we made him into this. He sells out 20, 30,000, but he's not doing that.
No. That's the thing that pisses me off when people say, well, Rolly is like, you got to give him credit though. He's a popular name. He's a star. And it's like, no, he's not. He's not a star. This guy is very, very irrelevant when it comes to ticket sales. Yeah. People want to bring up the ticket sales when he fought Tank, but that was Tank's ticket sales.
Hector Luis Garcia filled up the stadium.
Right? If that's the case, then Hector Luis Garcia is a super duper star.
So we got to get away from what these promoters are saying. Oh, we know the numbers. We know this. No, we know that is one fighter that brings in the moolah on that side. Oh, no, because Spence is a bigger fight. No, Spence was selling out arenas when he had another big opponent coming in. Crawford was his biggest payday. What's the other guy that he did a lot of numbers with in Dallas?
Mikey Garcia.
He's a star. Mickey's known to do numbers.
Yeah.
So we got to get away from this thing of, oh no, Spence is the bigger name. Spence is the bigger name when he has the right opponent. So let's get away from this nonsense. Mayweather wasn't selling a bunch of tickets until he became a star with other relevant fighters. When other relevant fighters was there, he started becoming that household name that we all wanted to see. So let's get away from this nonsense, man, that Spence is a big... Come on, bro. We got to stop. They're feeding us a bunch of BS, man. And it hurts me because they have a monopoly on the game. Whatever they throw at us, we got to take. And it's unfortunate, man.
No, and it's unfortunate for the long term of the sport because like the thought the thought that the thought that boxing, how do I say, the thought that boxing is behind all the other sports and they're not worried about their future, they're not adjusting the way they behave through their future is concerning. It's concerning.
Very much so, Joel. It lets me know that.
Oh, I think my man Juan got a call. Juan got a call. Hold on, but while we wait for Juan to get back, it says Mikey brought the people out in Dallas. I was there. It was full of Mexicans.
Yeah, I got a call. I'll put it on do not disturb, man. Don't disturb me right now. I'm with the voice.
Okay. Talk to me.
It's unfortunate, man, because we have a lot of talented fighters right now. Guys that don't have the big name. Guys that you could find in that 1 to 10, Joel, that could give anybody a competitive fight. And we're not seeing their talent. We're not seeing their ability right now. That's why I'm so happy about what Pro Box is doing and all these other little networks that are coming up. We got to start showing some love to them. I don't know if you noticed, Joel, in the Adorno fight, and there was 10,000 viewers watching it live. You know, and then other numbers is going to come on the back end. I'm tired of names, man. I'm tired of names in boxing. I want to see good fights, man. And the people are doing the right thing. We're not buying these fights no more, Joel. You see what's happening.
Yeah.
We're not buying these fights.
I mean, I think they need to choose. I think what fights are pay-per-views have gone down in I want to say that back let's say 15 years ago, what was a pay-per-view was a much higher standard back then. We used to get pay-per-view. Yo, when you got a pay-per-view, oh shit.
You can't wait.
I was fighting Cotto. You know what I'm saying?
Super Bowl.
Mayweather was fighting Mosley. De La Hoya was fighting Mosley. You had, Lennox Lewis was fighting Vitaly Klitschko. You got some bangers. You got bang for your buck. Now we getting fights that we used to get for free. We like a fight like Tim Tszyu versus Keith Thurman, or a fight with Tim Tszyu and Fundora, which both, the Thurman was scheduled to be a pay-per-view, but then they switched it when it was Fundora and still stayed at pay-per-views. Those fights we used to get for free on Showtime and HBO back in the day. Like that was what? But wasn't it a good fight? Yeah, we used to get good free fights back in the days. Like what the
HBO,
fuck?
Showtime, had guys killing each other for those titles and for that opportunity at the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
You remember HBO will even get involved and say, "Nah, we won this fight." They will tell the promoters, "Nah, I don't care what we won these fights."
Yeah. They would turn down. They would be like, all right, well, if he doesn't want to fight that dude, he's not fighting on the network.
He's not fighting on the network, and the network was the most important thing because you was going to be showcased. And
yeah, but now it's like the promoter has all the power now. ESPN, they don't tell Top Rank what fights to make, what fights not to make. They may make a suggestion, but they don't do that. Same thing with I'm assuming Amazon. You think Amazon is telling them like, yo, Elvis has to fight this guy. Yo, Adames has to fight. No, they're not doing that. They just like, all right, this is the platform. You guys just put the fights on, and you giving all the power to the promoter. And the promoter's gonna play it in a way where it's safest for them, where they could develop guys and cushion guys and keep guys O's and do all that. You get what I'm saying? As opposed to back then, the networks had the power.
Another thing too, Joel, that is muddying up the water a little bit too. Being that the PBC situation is still unclear in terms of dates, that's what making it also. I'm starting to appreciate those little ESPN cards more now, and those little DAZN cards more now, with those little guys coming up, because it's like I'm tired of being upside heavy. of just worrying about what Errols of the world, the Crawfords of the world are doing. Now I'm concerned about the smaller guys now, because I'm seeing how they're getting shitted on now. Elvis, even guys like Sims, guys that fought to get to that position. Like, what happens to them?
Sims left PBC.
That guy should have been fighting for a title already, man.
Yeah, he beat Akhmadov for the final eliminator, and then all of a sudden Rolly caught an injury or something like that, and then when Rolly comes back, he's fighting Pitbull, and it's like
that alone should tell you how much power. Like this sanctioning bodies and giving you an 8 and 7, that shit don't mean nothing. In the grand scheme of things, the network is letting you know that they're in cahoots with the sanctioning bodies, and they dictate who gets a title shot.
Yeah,
so
man.
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. Oh, this guy is 3 times world champion, and look at the result, bro. If you don't have to go through the mud, if you don't have to go through warriors to get to the top, then who really are you? You just getting an opportunity to fight for the title. Think about it, Joel. We got made up champions now.
No, for real. Yo, for the rest of Rolly's life, Rolly could retire right now. Listen to this. And he could walk up to somebody who doesn't know who he is and goes, yeah, I was a former world champion. And he will be telling the truth.
A 2-time world champion.
Yeah, they may look him up. They may look his fights up and be like, damn, how the hell you became champion? But at the end of the day, he could say, yo, I was a world champion. Google it. And he'll be telling
every time Rolly had to step up and fight a game opponent, he lost. He lost. And lost convincingly.
Yep. He got stopped he got stopped with Tank, stopped with Pitbull, should have lost to Marinas, and he should have lost to Barroso.
But the promoters are letting you know, we decide who fights for the title. We decide who gets on the networks. They letting you know straight up. And here we are, all the going through the motions of I mean, even though boxing was so exciting last year, we could tell that if we want to be on the top, it's not going to happen the way they're doing it. They got to stop caring about people's names, man, and putting these guys up. Joy, you imagine if we had a situation where all these guys were fighting each other, you will have more stars. You will have more relevant names. You will have.
Honestly, I don't think necessarily. Well, listen, I think for the most part, we do get good fights. We do get the best fighting the best for the most part. Not all the time. We're not perfect. Boxing is not perfect, but what I think hurts the sport more so than the fights now happening is these guys fighting once or twice a year. Now, if you're Canelo, if you're Anthony Joshua, all right, you can fight once or twice a year. I get it. You're already a superstar. You're making 30, 40 million a fight, whatever it is. But when you're Subriel Matias, when you're Elvis Rodriguez and Puello and Adames and Hector Luis Garcia and all these guys should be fighting 4 times a year. 4 times a year minimum. Now, the reason I say that is because a lot of these guys, they'll have a great performance. Oh man, like when Carlos Adames fought Fernando Montiel, when he looked spectacular. You remember that fight where he got that knockout? We didn't see him fight again for like 10 months, 9 months or something like that. Now you imagine
I gotta see it.
You imagine he would have fought 3 months later, and then after that fought 4 months later, then after that fought 4 months later. You imagine now the buzz he would have been building up. And the more times you fight, it's just a numbers game. Eventually, we're going to get the fight we want. And it's unfortunate that that's the way the boxing business is currently, because there's not enough dates, and these fighters get paid so much that, I just made 400,000, I just made 200,000, whatever. I don't need to fight. So I'm just going to chill and lay back and not, and fight one more time this year, and that's it. And it's like, yeah, you fought once in January, once in November, and that's it.
I think you said it best, man. Boxing doesn't have a commission to regulate these sanctioning bodies.
Yeah.
to really uphold them to their own bylaws. And when you
Yeah.
don't have that, I mean, it's like the mafia.
Yeah.
They couldn't,
Yo, yeah, nah, for sure. Yo, Juan, I hate to do this, but I actually got to go to work now. So,
Nah, do what you got to do, brother. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
nah, man. I appreciate you hopping on and always, you always bring quality content and good opinions, man.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Take care.
No problem. All right, everybody, man. Sorry, I got to cut this a little short, but I got to head to work. But everybody, please hit that like and subscribe button. Go to BroadwayJoel.com. Go buy yourself a Dominican boxing shirt. And until next time, guys, peace.